Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, today I have an article back from 2015 detailing China's experiment with weather manipulation, and I also have an article detailing the false flag phenomena. Both articles are very interesting, and we're getting into them now. While this article about China hits deadly typhoon Mijigai with a missile is kind of old, folks, it just shows you that various governments are very interested in controlling the weather and weaponizing it, and they've been doing so for years. Either way, let's get into it now. For what is believed to be the first time ever, China has fired a tactical missile at an extremely strong typhoon. Is this a new way to collect data on deadly storms, or another attempt by the Chinese government at weather manipulation? Did the missile alter the strength of the storm? Typhoon Mijigai made landfall in China's Guangdong province on October 4th, with reported wind speeds of up to 217 kilometers per hour, 135 miles per hour, and quickly became a Category 4 storm. As of this rain, 20 people have died as a result of the storm that also caused $3.66 billion in damages, making it the most powerful typhoon to ever hit this area. Did something other than nature make this storm so strong? According to the Hong Kong news source Wenhui Po, on October 3rd, as the typhoon was nearing landfall, the Chinese military launched a 1-ton Sai-400 ground-to-ground tactical missile from Hainan Island into the eye of the storm. This was called a scientific mission to drop radio sound sensor payloads into the typhoon to record and transmit back meteorological data. Here is an illustration of how the missile would drop payloads into the typhoon. As you can see, it's very interesting how they fly it over and then drop it in, isn't it? And then fly off. Very interesting. But let's continue. Was this first ever, to our knowledge, launch of a missile into a typhoon really just to record data, or was there another purpose? China has been known to use missiles for weather manipulation before. In 2008, it launched 1,104 cloud seeding missiles in a seemingly successful attempt to prevent rain from falling on the opening ceremonies of the Summer Olympics in Beijing. While it hasn't used missiles from 1962 to 1983, the U.S. government ran Project Storm Fury in an attempt to reduce the strength of hurricanes by flying planes into the eye, seeing it with silver oxide, and hoping it would freeze. It didn't work, and Cuban President Fidel Castro called it an attempt by the U.S. to weaponize hurricanes. Was it? It could be, folks. I would not be surprised that China would attempt to control the weather and use it as a weapon, because that's the kind of nation it is. Unfortunately, our own government could also be trying to weaponize the weather. Why? Because, well, those in power always want more power, and the idea of controlling weather probably appeals to them. But folks, let's finish off this article and I'll give my final thoughts on it. Did China try to stop or slow down Typhoon Mijigai with a Sai-400 missile? It seems like the typhoon gained strength instead. Was it an attempt to weaponize the typhoon? Perhaps we should ask Fidel Castro for his opinion. Well, that guy's, and I'm glad about that, folks, dead. But either way, folks, yeah. Even though this article is, 10 years old, I have no doubt that China continues to dream of weaponizing the weather, and I no doubt they're probably still attempting to do so. Either way, folks, interesting article, but let's move on to the next one. The false flag phenomena. Let's read into this article and hear exactly how, false flags are used and why, governments still feel the need to find some reason to attack another country by just staging something like this, folks. So let's get into this article and read exactly how this phenomena, unfortunately, still takes place. So let's read this article now. Within the field of conspiracy theorizing, a great deal is said about what are known as false flags. Wikipedia says a false flag is a covert operation designed to deceive. The deception creates the appearance of a particular party, group, or nation being responsible for some activity, disguising the actual source of responsibility. The term false flag originally referred to pirate ships that flew flags of countries as a disguise to prevent their victims from fleeing or preparing for battle. Sometimes the flag would remain and the blame for the attack laid incorrectly on another country. The term today extends beyond naval encounters to include countries that organize attacks on themselves and make the attacks appear to be by enemy nations or terrorists, thus giving the nation that was supposedly attacked a pretext for domestic repression and foreign military aggression. As I said, folks, if you look at what's happening now with various countries, that does seem to be taking place. Unfortunately, it's a phenomenon that will probably continue in the future. But let's read on, and then I'll talk about this a little more after. While the highly inflammatory claims have been made suggesting that both 9/11 and, the 7/7 were false flags, and that one day we might see the most outrageous false flag of all, a faked alien invasion, there are some cases which are not in doubt. Is it possible that at least some terrible events that have occurred in recent history could actually not have been the work of terrorists or foreign military personnel? Might they instead have been definitive false flags? It's important to note that there is nothing new about false flags. They have a long and controversial history. One of the earliest such events occurred in the latter part of the 18th century, specifically 1788. It all began when a high-ranking official in the Swedish government quietly and carefully contacted a senior tailor within the Royal Swedish Opera, which may sound strange. Well, yes, it was strange, and with good reason. That same military official asked the tailor if he could create a significant number of uniforms. He didn't want the uniforms to represent the Swedish military, though rather he wanted the tailor to create Russian uniforms. There was a method to this oddness. It revolved around manipulation and conspiracy. Not only that, it was a cold-hearted plan on the part of the Swedes. The tailor agreed to make the uniforms in double quick time, even though he had no idea as to why the Swedish military would want to dress like Russians. Today, we know exactly why. On June 27th, 1788, and dressed in their Russian outfits, a team of Swedish soldiers descended on a Swedish military facility in Pomolia, a municipality in Finland. The soldiers then attacked their very own installation to make it appear as if the Imperial Russian Army were the culprits. The reason? Prior to the attack, the Swedish government was deeply against engaging in hostilities with the Russians. After the attack, though, it was a very different situation. There was a significantly sized call for retribution. Such was the highly classified nature of the faked attack, nor even the highest echelons of the Swedish National Assembly, known as the Riksdag of the States, knew anything about it. It was all the work of a well-hidden cabal. In no time at all, King Gustav II took immediate steps to wage war on Russia. The Swedish-Russia War ranged from June 1788 to August 1790. Close to 40,000 troops were killed in a war that resolved nothing between the two powers. Now let's take a trip to Japan and then on to Poland. On September 18, 1931, the Chinese region of Manchuria was attacked by the Japanese military. The possibility of war breaking out had been bubbling for a while. All the Japanese needed was a reason to invade. They got one, or rather, they created it. The Japanese military came up with an idea to launch a false flag on its own soil and place the blame on the Chinese. The target was a stretch of railway on Japan's South Manchuria Railway. A Lieutenant Shumori Kuramoto steered the operation to success. And unfortunately, folks, it was successful. So let's read on and hear exactly how the Japanese did this. A tiny amount of explosives was secretly placed close to the track, but not on it. The Japanese wanted to make a point, but they didn't want to cause any serious damage to their own territory or people, so they made sure that the explosion that soon followed was limited. No one was hurt and the track wasn't even affected, but by claiming that the attack was the work of the Chinese, it was seen as enough of a reason to go to war with China. As a result, the Japan-China War began and the invasion of Manchuria went ahead, all as a result of a fabricated false flag affair. So you can see, folks, if we go back through history, you can see these false flags basically being used to basically start wars. Like basically in the article mentioning that the Swedes basically attacked their own side with their own Swedish soldiers dressed in Russian uniforms, how this can be used to start a war and then basically empower and basically, inflate the coffers of the elite of those various countries who want this war to make a buck. Or at the very least gain more power politically and financially. Both inside this country and outside of it. So you can see how this is used, folks, and it's a truly terrible thing. And right now, folks, there are various wars going on right now, and you can see how false flags probably are being used in the current wars that are starting right around now and still going on. I mean, I can bring up Ukraine and Russia. I can also bring up other, wars that basically started over the last few days, folks. So undoubtedly, folks, there's a good chance that some of these wars were started by false flags. So that's the truth. Anyway, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics That Are Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions of the chat to go subscribe to me. There's also, hit that like button, make sure you're still subscribed, leave some comments down below, hit that bell for notifications, hit the part of the bell that will give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.